The village of Moja sat nestled between towering mountains and winding rivers, a land rich in fertile soil where crops flourished with ease and the air carried the scent of fresh harvests. It was a place where life moved at a steady pace, bound by the rhythms of nature. The people of Moja lived in harmony with their surroundings, following the teachings of the elders who passed down wisdom from generation to generation. The sun rose and set with the promise of tradition, and in Moja, tradition ruled every aspect of life. The elders gathered around the fire each evening, speaking of ancestors long gone, sharing stories that connected the past with the present. In Moja, everything had its place, and the people followed their roles without question, knowing that the strength of the village came from unity and respect for the old ways. But in the midst of this peaceful life, there was one who did not fit the mold. Zalika, the daughter of a humble farmer, was not like the other girls of Moja. While they spent their days learning the ways of the village, gathering water, tending to the fields, and preparing for marriage, Zalika's mind raced with restless dreams. She would stand by the river, staring at the flowing waters, imagining a life that was not bound by the traditions of her people. She wanted more. She wanted power, influence, and recognition. The idea of being just another village girl was unbearable to her. Her heart burned with the desire to be seen, to rise above the simple life that her father, Baba Kwame, had worked so hard to provide. Baba Kwame was a respected elder in the village, known for his wisdom and his deep connection to the spirit world. He had seen the fire in his daughter's heart, the same fire that had once burned in him when he was young. But he also knew the dangers of unchecked ambition. One evening, as they sat together by the fire, he looked at Zalika with a solemn expression. "Zalika," he said in his deep, steady voice, "there is something dangerous in your heart, something I can see clearly. The desire for power, it can consume you if you are not careful." Zalika's eyes flashed with defiance. "I do not want to be like the other women here, Papa. I want to lead. I want to be remembered." Baba Kwame sighed deeply, his weathered hands clasped around his walking staff. "Power gained by unnatural means," he warned, "will one day turn against its master. You must remember this, my child, before it is too late." But Zalika's heart was set. She could not be swayed by the words of her father, though she respected him deeply. The world she dreamed of was beyond the village, beyond the narrow expectations placed upon her as a woman. She could see it in her mind, a world where she stood at the center, surrounded by the respect and admiration of all. She would not let anything stand in her way. The village of Moja had long been governed by a council of men, and the leadership was a sacred duty passed from father to son. No woman had ever ruled, and no woman ever would, or so it was believed. Zalika knew this well. She had heard the whispers in the village square, the disapproving glances from the elders as they spoke of women's duties. The idea that she, a woman, could ever sit among the men as a leader was laughable to them. But Zalika's vision for herself was clear. She would not accept a life of subservience. She would not be bound by the roles others had set for her. Then came the announcement that shattered her dreams. One crisp morning, the village chief called for a gathering at the great square. The people gathered, murmuring among themselves, wondering what news had arrived. As the chief spoke, his voice strong and steady, it became clear, his son, Jabari, was to be the next leader of Moja. The villagers cheered, pleased with the decision, for Jabari was strong, young, and respected. He would be the next in a long line of leaders, following in the footsteps of his father. But for Zalika, the announcement was a blow. Her heart twisted with rage and disappointment. The world she had dreamed of, where she stood in power, seemed further away than ever. She turned to her father, eyes blazing with fury. "I will never accept this. I will never live in a world where a man takes what is mine. I will make them see me. I will make them bow before me." Baba Kwame placed a hand on her shoulder, his grip firm yet gentle. "You must learn, Zalika. There are forces in this world that you do not understand. The world does not bend to the will of one person. It is balanced, as the river is balanced, as the mountains are balanced. What you seek may come with a cost. But Zalika's mind was clouded with rage. She could not hear him. She only saw the future she had envisioned, where she was the ruler, not Jabari. That night, as Zalika lay in her bed, a strange feeling washed over her. The air seemed to grow thick, the darkness deeper than ever before. As her eyelids fluttered shut, a voice reached her in the depths of her dreams. Power can be taken, not given, the voice whispered, sending a shiver down her spine. It was a voice unlike any she had ever heard, ancient and filled with a strange, unsettling wisdom. She opened her eyes to find herself in a vast, shadowy forest, the trees whispering in the wind. The figure of an old woman stood before her, her eyes gleaming with knowing. "Who are you?" Zalika asked, her voice trembling. The woman smiled, a slow, knowing smile. "I am Mama Nyoka, the one who knows the secrets of the world. The ones who seek power must first understand its cost." Zalika's heart raced, but she could not turn away. "Tell me how I can take what is mine. I will do anything." Mama Nyoka's eyes flickered with an otherworldly light. The world is not kind to those who seek power without understanding it. But, if you are truly determined, the path will open to you. But beware, for power taken is power that will consume you. Zalika woke with a start, her heart pounding in her chest. The words of Mama Nyoka echoed in her mind. She had always believed that power was something one could claim by force, but now, something deeper stirred within her. She would rewrite her destiny, no matter the cost. Zalika's feet pounded against the earth as she entered the dense forest, the trees towering above her like ancient sentinels, their roots twisting in the dark soil. The path ahead was shrouded in shadows, and the air grew heavier with every step. She could feel the weight of the forest around her, as though the very land itself was holding its breath. The villagers had warned her about this place, the forbidden path, where many had ventured in search of power, only to be lost forever. But Zalika was undeterred. She had long outgrown the life her village had planned for her. Her heart burned with a hunger that could not be satisfied by the simple life of a farmer's daughter. As she walked deeper, the whisper of the trees grew louder, the wind carrying with it voices from the past, voices of those who had dared to seek forbidden knowledge, their souls forever bound to the spirits of the forest. Zalika didn't stop. She couldn't stop. Her dream of ruling Moja, of claiming the power that was rightfully hers, was the only thing that mattered now. The trail grew darker, the air colder. Bones, long since stripped of flesh, littered the ground like remnants of broken promises. Strange markings, drawn in red and black, adorned the trees, signs of those who had gone before her and made their pact with the shadows. The fear that had briefly clawed at her heart faded, replaced by the resolve of a woman determined to change her fate. And then she saw it, Mama Nyoka's dwelling, hidden within the heart of the forest. It was not a hut like the ones in the village. This was a structure of dark stone, its entrance guarded by towering statues of unknown creatures. Zalika approached cautiously, the final step of her journey. Mama Nyoka stood waiting for her, her eyes glowing with a knowing light, as if she had been expecting Zalika all along. Her long, silver hair framed her face like the moonlight itself. The sorceress spoke without greeting, her voice like a soft wind, ancient and knowing. "You have come, child," Mama Nyoka said, her voice carrying the weight of the world. "But beware, power is a price you cannot pay without losing something in return." Zalika's voice was fierce, filled with the hunger for greatness. "I do not fear the price," she declared. "I will pay whatever it takes. I want power, true power that no man can take from me." Mama Nyoka's gaze deepened, as though peering into Zalika's very soul. "Power, yes. But it comes with a cost. You must offer something precious, something that belongs to you. The spirits will take what they are owed, and you will never be the same again." Zalika's heart raced, but she did not hesitate. "I will give anything. I have nothing left but my ambition. I am ready. The sorceress nodded, as if she had heard this too many times before. With a sigh, she gestured for Zalika to step forward. Then come. Let the ritual begin. Under the full moon, the ritual began, eerie chants rising from the darkness like the call of distant ancestors. Zalika stood at the center of a circle drawn in blood-red earth, her arms raised to the sky as the spirits began to gather. The wind howled around them, and the air thickened with the weight of unseen forces. Mama Nyoka's voice echoed through the night, guiding Zalika through the incantations. You must offer something precious, Mama Nyoka said again, her voice sharp now. Your soul, your essence. It will be taken, and you will be reborn. Zalika, trembling but resolute, whispered the words of the pact. She could feel the power coursing through her, a surge of energy that threatened to overwhelm her. The ritual was not just a transaction, it was a transformation, an irrevocable change. The moment the ritual was complete, the wind stilled. The forest fell silent, as if holding its breath. Zalika opened her eyes and looked around. Something had shifted. The world seemed brighter, sharper, as though the veil between the living and the spirits had been torn open. She could feel the power flowing through her veins, a force she had never known before. She was beautiful, unnaturally so. Her skin glowed with an ethereal radiance, and her voice, when she spoke, carried an authority that demanded attention. The villagers would bow before her. They would follow her every word. As Zalika left the forest, she knew that the village would never see her the same way again. She was different, changed, powerful, and ready to claim what she believed was hers. The shadows seemed to follow her, a constant reminder that this power came at a price. But she was no longer afraid. The village would soon see her for what she truly was, a leader. In the days that followed, Zalika's influence grew. Her beauty was mesmerizing, her words laced with an enchanting authority that captivated the villagers. It wasn't long before they began to see her as something more than the daughter of a farmer. The men who once dismissed her now looked to her for guidance, drawn in by her commanding presence. But Zalika's power didn't come without its price. At night, strange things began to happen. Shadows seemed to follow her, stretching unnaturally across the ground as though they were alive. Her reflection in the water became distorted, a twisted version of herself that smiled back at her with eyes that were not her own. The voices began, too. Soft whispers in the night, calling her name in a language she didn't understand. The spirits were there, watching her, waiting for her to fulfill her end of the bargain. Mama Nyoka's warning echoed in her mind, the spirits will return to claim what is theirs. But Zalika refused to be afraid. She had the power she wanted. She had the throne. And nothing would take it from her. But as she stood before the village council, her heart pounding in her chest, she could feel it, the first stirrings of the darkness that would one day come for her. The whispers were growing louder, the shadows more persistent. It was a small price to pay, she told herself, for the glory she had earned. The council, bewitched by her presence, declared her the new leader of Moja. They crowned her with ceremonial robes, and the villagers cheered. But as Zalika looked out over the crowd, she felt an unsettling chill crawl up her spine. The spirits had given her what she wanted, but their price was not yet paid. As she stood victorious, the winds began to howl again, and a whisper reached her ear, a whisper from the shadows that followed her every step. You have what you wanted, Zalika, it said. But remember, the spirits always come to collect. Zalika's rule over Moja had once been marked by strength and control, but with power came paranoia. Every whisper of the wind sent a shiver down her spine, as though the very earth itself conspired against her. The shadows, once harmless, now seemed to stretch and move, their forms twisting in the corner of her eyes. Zalika had trusted no one but herself. The villagers, the ones she had once manipulated, now looked at her with suspicion. They were no longer the people she had once commanded with ease, their loyalty had been shaken by the very power she had used to rise above them. And in the dark of night, she heard them, the whispers of those she had betrayed, the ghosts of those who had fallen because of her. Her mind was a prison, filled with voices that spoke in riddles, calling her name. Zalika, they echoed, their tone both mournful and accusing. She couldn't escape them. She couldn't silence the sounds that filled her days and nights. Even her reflection seemed foreign, her eyes hollow with the weight of her actions. The deeper she fell into her rule, the more distant she became from the woman she had once been. And then, on the winds of fate, came Jabari. The exiled heir. He returned not as the weak, abandoned prince he had once been but as a man who had learned the ways of the world. He had spent years wandering, gathering knowledge, building strength. The people of the neighboring villages had joined him, angered by Zalika's oppressive reign. The villagers of Moja, once so enchanted by Zalika's charm, began to question their loyalty. The seed of doubt had been planted, and as Jabari's presence grew stronger, the villagers' hearts turned away from the woman who had led them into darkness. Amani, Zalika's trusted advisor, watched the changes with growing concern. He had seen the toll Zalika's rule had taken on her, and on the people. The dark magic she had once sought had consumed her, twisting her soul and her mind. One evening, when the moon was full and the village gathered in secrecy, Amani summoned the council. The truth, the horrifying truth, had to be revealed. The power she wields, it's not hers. It's the spirit's, Amani said, his voice heavy with sorrow. The ritual, the pact she made, it was forbidden. She sold her soul for power, and now the spirits demand what is theirs. The council members looked at each other, their eyes wide with fear. The whispers had started, strange sounds in the night, unnatural occurrences in the village. Zalika's grip on them was slipping, and now the spirits were growing restless. The villagers had started to murmur of rebellion, unsure of how to reclaim what was theirs. It was on the night of the great festival, a time meant for celebration, that the curse would unfold fully. The moon was hidden behind dark clouds, and an eerie silence fell over the village. Zalika stood in the center of the square, her once beautiful form now altered. Her skin, once smooth and glowing, began to crack, as though the earth itself were claiming her. The villagers gasped in horror as she trembled, her regal appearance fading before their eyes. The spirits had come. They emerged from the shadows like dark clouds, their whispers turning to wails. Zalika's once commanding voice faltered, and she fell to her knees. The spirits were angry, demanding the price she had promised. Her radiant beauty, her hypnotic presence, all had been built on a lie, and now the truth was consuming her. The villagers, filled with fear, rushed to the elders for guidance. They begged the elders to save Zalika, to find a way to rid her of the spirit's wrath. The elders performed rituals of protection and cleansing, but the spirits did not yield. Zalika, once a powerful and feared leader, now trembled before the forces she had called upon. She was powerless, a shadow of the ruler she had once been. It was in this moment of desperation that the spirits made their final move. With a mighty force, they surrounded Zalika, dragging her towards the darkness. Her screams echoed across the village, the sound of a woman who had once thought she could cheat fate. But the spirits were not merciful. As they pulled her deeper into the shadows, she cried out for mercy, but the spirits were relentless. From the darkness, Mama Nyoka's voice whispered on the wind, "Fate cannot be cheated." Zalika's body vanished into the night, leaving only fear and whispers in her wake. Her cries were carried on the wind, a haunting reminder of the cost of her ambition. In the years that followed, the villagers would speak of her disappearance, of the chilling cries that echoed on moonless nights, warning those who might seek power without honor. With Zalika gone, Jabari stepped forward. But he was not the vengeful prince they had expected. No, he was a man chosen by the people, a leader who understood that power came not from force, but from wisdom. He rebuilt the village, mending the broken trust and leading with a steady hand. The village of Moja, once divided by fear, now stood united, its people learning from the mistakes of the past. But as the village healed, another mystery unfolded. On the morning after Zalika's fall, Mama Nyoka was nowhere to be found. Some said she had walked into the forest, her task complete, while others believed she had never truly been human. She had been a spirit sent by the ancestors, a test for the village, a lesson in humility. As time passed, the village elders gathered the children and told the tale of Zalika, the woman who had let greed consume her. The villagers of Moja vowed never to let ambition blind them again. And every year, on the night of Zalika's fall, they lit a fire to remember the lesson: greed leads only to destruction. Jabari, now kneeling before the elders, listened as their voices echoed through the village. Power without honor is a curse, not a blessing, they said. These words would become law, guiding future generations. The legend of Zalika would live on, not as a tale of sorrow, but as a reminder that true power comes from honor, not from force or deceit. And so, the village of Moja learned that in the end, the price of power is not paid with gold or strength, but with the soul.